أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So inshallah we will continue our journey on the interpretation of the verse. Let's remember the verse. The seven heavens and the earth and all that is in them extol and glorify him, and there is nothing but glorifies him with praise, but you understand not their glorifying. Indeed, he is most forbearing, most forgiving. So the text we have been studying was an interpretation of this verse, and the subtitle of the text was the observation of a traveler questioning the universe concerning his maker. And in a nutshell, the idea is, since we have newcomers today, so the idea was we find ourselves, we open our eyes in this life, in this existence that we are in, and we found ourselves to be maintained like everything else. These babies are being maintained, life is being maintained, everything is being maintained. So then we ask the question, who maintains me? Who makes me? Who takes care of me? Likewise, the babies and the trees and everything around. So here we are having this, the verse which says, the seven heavens and the earth and all that is in them extol and glorify him. So the Quran is saying that everything glorifies the creator, and then says, but you don't understand their language. You don't understand their tongue. And we said that this should not be understood as you cannot understand their tongue, but actually it's an invitation to try to understand their tongue. And this is what we have been trying to do. We started with asking questions to the seas, the mountains, the heavenly bodies and everything, saying that, tell me about your maker, who is also my maker, my creator. So we have gone through several stages, and for the past 2 weeks, we first talked about angels. So before angels, we talked about human beings. So we talked about prophets, the scholars, and then the saints. Then we talked about angels. And then we talked about, last week's discussion was a little tough to understand. But in a nutshell, the question that we were trying to understand was, okay, here is human and here is angels. But how does human communicate? Like, in a sense, here is wireless signals and here is the TV. How does the communication happen? And we talked about antenna, sort of. Like, human has this heart and intellect through which this interaction is happening. This is why authors, last week's discussion was an introspective observation. So how come that I sense ideas? How come that I feel emotions? And he was saying that the way I have those ideas, the way I have those emotions, it looks like there's an aspect in me which is interacting with this unseen aspect that is out there. I have those feelings, and therefore there are those feeling, I don't know, inducing environment in there. Therefore, this is how the conversation was happening. So inshallah, this week now, we are taking it one step further. And we are going to talk about revelation and inspiration. How does the Creator talk to us? Or does the Creator talk to us? That would be our question for today, inshallah. So this being said, we are going to be studying from the book called The Rays. If you have the app open, you can go to page 146. This is a book from Imam Said Nursi, for those who are coming for the first time. And we continue our journey from there on. And we need somebody to read. Sister Zareen seems to be the volunteer for today, mashallah. You have the app open, right? Alhamdulillah. So then that traveler looking closely.
Then that traveler, looking closely at the world of the unseen and voyaging in it with his intellect and his heart, knocked inquisitively on the door of that world, thinking to himself, "What does this world have to say?" The following occurred to him. It is to be clearly understood that behind the veil of the unseen is one who wants to make himself known through all these numerous finely adorned artifacts full of art in this corporeal manifest world, and to make himself loved through these infinite, sweet, and decorated bounties, and to make known his hidden perfections through these innumerable miraculous and skillful works of art, and who does this by act rather than speech, and by making himself known by the tongue of disposition. Since this is so, of a certainty he will speak and make himself known and loved through speech and utterance, just as he does through deed and state. In which case, from his manifestations, we must know him in respect to the world of the unseen. Whereupon he entered that world with his heart and saw the following with the eye of his intellect. The truth of revelations prevails at all instants over all parts of the world of the unseen, with the most powerful manifestation. There comes with the truths of revelation and inspiration proceeding from the one all-knowing of the unseen, a testimony to his existence and unity far stronger than testimony of the universe and created beings. He does not leave himself, his existence, and his unity only to the testimony of his creatures. Rather, he speaks with the pre-eternal speech consonant with his own being. The speech of the one who is all-present and all-seeing everywhere with his knowledge and power is also endless. And just as the meaning of his speech makes him known, so does his discourse make himself known together with his attributes. The traveler recognized that the truth, reality, and existence of revelation has been made plain to the point of being self-evident by the consensus of 100,000 prophets, peace be upon them, by the agreement among their proclamations concerning the manifestation of divine revelation, by the evidence and miracles contained in the sacred books and heavenly pages, which are the guides and exemplars of the overwhelming majority of humanity, confirmed and assented to by them, and are the visible fruits of revelation. He understood further that the truth of revelation proclaims five sacred truths. The first, to speak in accordance with men's intellects and understandings, known as the divine condescension to the minds of men, is a form of divine descent. It is a requirement of God's dominicality that he endows all of his conscious creatures with speech, understands their speech, and then participates in it with his own speech. The second, the one who, in order to make himself known, fills the cosmos with his miraculous creations, and endows them with tongues speaking of his perfections, will necessarily make himself known with his own words also. The third, it is a function of his being creator to respond in words to the supplications and offerings of thanks that are made by the most select, the most needy, the most delicate and the most ardent among his beings, true men. The fourth, the attribute of speech, an essential, concomitant, and luminous manifestation of both knowledge and life, will necessarily be found in a comprehensive and eternal form in the being whose knowledge is comprehensive and whose life is eternal. The fifth, it is a consequence of divinity that the being who endows men with impotence and desire, poverty and need, anxiety for the future, love and worship, should communicate his own existence by way of his speech to his most loved and lovable, his most anxious and needy creatures, who are most desirous of finding their Lord and Master. The evidence for the existence and unity of the necessary existent offered in unanimity by universal and heavenly revelations, which contain the truths of divine descent, dominical self-proclamation, compassionate response, divine conversation, and eternal self-communication, constitute a proof more powerful than the testimony for the existence of the sun brought by the rays of sunlight.
I would say let's stop here. there is more, but let's try to comprehend what's said here. After here, he is going to start talking about inspiration. So far, he was talking about revelation. But let's make sure we are on the same page about what's going on in here. So any comments so far? If not, I will start asking questions. So do you guys believe in Quran? Can I see hands who believes in Quran? Okay. Okay, a large extent believes in Quran. Brother Fred was also going to raise his hand, but he is holding the kid otherwise, yeah. Okay. So, like believe in Quran, what do we mean by that? Any idea? Why do you say you believe in Quran? I mean, when you say I believe in Quran, what do you mean by that?
I believe in the revelation given to a Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Revelation given to prophets, right? So, anybody wants to open it up a little more? Revelation given to prophets. What's revelation like? What's revelation?
That's the speech of God.
God.
I guess instructions and details on how we should live our life and other things.
Okay, so you think like God talk to someone? In a sense, this is what you believe in, right? God is speaking to someone. Okay. Like today, if I were to come up and say that God spoke to me, how would you react to that? Would you be welcoming to the idea that God is speaking to me? Or you say, yeah, we were expecting this guy to go crazy. There it goes, he started. What do you think? If I were to claim that, I guess, what would you feel? How would you feel if I say God spoke to me? That's
Since I know you a little bit, I would say,
excited to hear what's next.
That the Quran speaks to all of us, and therefore that you probably mean that you were reading Quran and you know that it spoke to you and your needs, your desires, or what you wanted from it.
If you were in Mecca 1400 years ago, and a person comes out, and in your society, nobody is claiming whatsoever about God speaking to anyone. Somebody comes out and says, God spoke to me. What would you say? Also, gentlemen. Like any idea? General, yes. So you were in Mecca 1400 years ago, and in the society, there's no mention of like speech, revelation whatsoever, no prophet. They don't know that. And a person comes out and says, God spoke to me. How would you respond to that? Would you be welcoming, or what would be your state? If you can press on the power button once.
The first thing I would say is I want to know what message you think you have received from God, and then I would try to determine if this is truthful. Like, is there something you can show me to make me believe that this is something divine and not man-made, like something that's out of the capacity of human creation that would make me believe in his divinity? But yeah,
So
I would try to.
Then you are not
verify.
surprised. Then you are not surprised that God is speaking to human. It looks like you were in expectation already, are you?
So I would be kind in dealing with this person. So I would not say that you're crazy, but I would try to verify if this is a figment of his imagination or if it's in a fact. So that is why I would like ask for proof in different ways to like verify the situation, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I would be skeptical, but I'd be kind. So yeah.
I mean, yeah, everybody will be kind, especially in US, so you wouldn't say you're crazy, right? But it looks like still you must have some way, some way of a hope, so that you're asking for verification. If it would have been totally impossible, I mean, still you would be kind, but you would just turn away and walk your way, isn't it?
That is true. I guess this comes from a place that I'm a spiritual person, or I believe in a creator at this point. If I did not believe in a higher being, I would probably say that this, whatever you think you are, is just a figment of your imagination. Nothing exists as a higher being that could speak to you. But because I'm a Muslim and I come with a belief that, okay, we have a creator, I guess probably why I would not like dismiss this person entirely in the first go.
I
But
see.
I would say that that would be a personal bias, me being a Muslim, but yeah.
Okay, because you have the idea of
Yeah.
revelation somehow.
Yeah. If
Okay.
not, then I'd probably say, no, you're crazy, I guess, if I wasn't believing.
Okay, fair. What else? Okay,
So I don't know about 1400 years ago. I don't know about 1400 years ago, but I guess in terms of like my reality right now as well, which I think presumably is what you're asking. If I find myself in a state where I have questions regarding my existence here, my life here, like there's a lot of dilemmas that I'm facing. I'm getting older. What am I doing with my life? I see my parents aging. They're getting older. They're going to die. So I have these questions and I have these feelings that are very heavy within me. So in terms of trying to make sense of these things, I think regardless of whether or not I live now or 1400 years ago, I would try to seek some sort of like, if somebody is talking about these matters, I would pay heed to them to see whether or not it makes sense to me. And I guess to begin with, if I'm aware that I just find myself in such a situation, right? Actually, yeah, I'm gonna end that thought there. Yeah, I think essentially, if I think perhaps maybe as the first step, I need to become aware of the fact that I find myself in a state of need with questions that I find myself with a longing for happiness, but I'm constantly kind of facing this transience or separation, and I can't seem to make sense of this by myself. So I think from that standpoint, I would pay heed to anybody that kind of speaks on the nature of these things. But of course, just because somebody talks about them doesn't mean that I'm going to accept what they say. I would have to kind of evaluate it or have a criterion for which I'm evaluating it.
and definitely we will be interested in hearing the answers. But Brother Birkan is a wise man. Maybe he is coming up with these ideas by himself with wisdom, but he's just trying to, I don't know, put a tone in his words to make it more convincing, saying that this is speech of God. Like, to be able to say that this is speech of God, I should be in expectation of God speaking to me. Otherwise, like wise people always talk. All those philosophers, all those, I don't know, scientists and whatnot. The question is, do I expect Creator to talk to me? Otherwise, I would just, yeah, definitely, we are keen to listening to wisdom. And this is why people go to, like, when you're going through hard times, even we pay money to go to, I don't know, a consultant, a psychiatrist, this and that, because we would like the problem to get resolved. But why not go to a psychiatrist or a consultant or any wise man, but rather expect that my Creator should talk to me? So this is the distinction that is, if you expect, you will look for it. If you don't expect, you will look elsewhere. And this is where the traveler is starting from. Like, he already went through this existence, this creation. He already arrived to a conclusion that there must exist a maker through various stages by now. But now, what does he say? Let me reread the first paragraph and we talk about it together, inshallah. Then that traveler, looking closely at the world of the unseen and voyaging in it with his intellect and his heart, this referring to the past weeks. now that he realized that he has an intellect, now that he realized that he has a heart, and those feelings occur to him, like you love someone, you hate someone, you think about ideas. These are the things that are happening in you. So you get to know yourself. And then he says, what does this world have to say? Now that I have these feelings, now that I have those ideas, what does this aspect of me, the world of ideas, the world of feelings, what does this tell me about my maker? This is the question. The following occurred to him. It is to be clearly understood that behind the veil of the unseen is one who wants to make himself known through all these numerous, finely adorned artifacts full of art in this corporeal manifest world, and to make himself loved through these infinite, sweet, and decorated bounties, and to make known his hidden perfections through these innumerable, miraculous, and skillful works of art, and who does this by act rather than speech, and by making himself known by the tongue of disposition. This is observed. You see a beautiful rose, you see a sunrise, you see banquets that are being laid before you, like milk, honey. These are all actually a speech by act. Like in your birthday, somebody knocks the door and just drops a package inside and goes away. What is this? What do you understand from that? If such a box is dropped to your house and it's like your favorites, whatever you need, like iPhone 16, iPhone 16. So you say somebody who loves me is giving me a gift. It's a gesture. It's a sign of love. But it is done with an act. It's a speech through an act. What do you expect? 5 minutes later, since the delivery notification goes to your mom, she calls with the phone as well, saying that, happy birthday, I love you, and whatnot. So right after this, a confirmation of love is coming through word as well. It's like your mom did not only declare her love to you by sending you a piece of gift. This was an act of demonstrating what she is trying to say, but also by calling, she confirmed and strengthened her position. Since this is so, of a certainty, he will speak and make himself known and loved through speech and utterance, just as he does through deed and state. Do you expect the same from the Creator is our question then. Because this is the claim here. He's saying that the Creator is, by his creation, is demonstrating a speech to you. But it's through a sign language in a sense. Do you expect the same Creator to talk to you in human language as well? What do you think? Yes or no? If you say yes, there will be more questions. If you say no, still more questions. Think accordingly. And Bishra, don't steal the show. Come here. Vida, yes.
I guess yes, because all of these physical manifestations that we're talking about are in a manner that are understood by us. So if we see the beauty in a rose, if we see, like, if we feel the taste in good food, or if we feel the sustenance through food, all of these things are something that can be experienced. So I feel like these are either, like, these abilities are given to us to experience all these things. And the other thing I can think of is, like, we can understand speech. So why is, like, there should be something in that medium as well. Like, if there's something with taste, touch, and everything else, there should be something that touches our intellect in a way and that we can understand. So I guess yes would be the answer.
Yes, what do you think? Is everybody in agreement with Ahmed? 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. Yes. But why do you expect the creator to speak to you in human language?
Because that's what we understand. Because I don't know if there is a divine speech, then it's for divine beings. We're not divine, we're humans. So if someone is going to communicate, like if someone comes to Pakistan, he would try to communicate with me in either English, because it's a lot of people understand it, or Urdu. He won't speak Chinese with me.
Mm.
So I feel like it has to be a language that we can understand.
Do you agree with that, folks? Is it clear? If it is, we can move on. Abdurrahman, how can I excite you?
I mean, I just want to say I expect a lot of things from my creator, and I expect a lot of things to be in a certain way, but a lot of them are not. And even let's say, okay, I expect my creator to speak to me, but really we're talking about the Quran, which when I read it in Arabic, and then even if you know Arabic, it's still a puzzle, and even if you know the puzzle, it's still, I don't know. It's like, okay, sure, I expect to be talked to, but it seems like it's still not how I expect it to be. So who cares about my expectation, right? That's how I feel.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, come with something like that. Okay. They are trying hard to come down.
So can I ask a question? There are some things that you expect. No, I want to ask you, what observation? There's some things that you expect from the speech of your creator. You want more clear communication with you? It might be something that I can.
I would love the most clear communication, yeah.
Clear communication. Okay. Good. People are in expectation of clear communication. Adir has something to say.
It's more, is it communication or is it answers that we're looking for? Like, are you looking for communication? Do you want to talk to the creator, or are you looking for something?
Okay.
And that is the way of communication by the creator.
That's good. So are we looking for a one-way or a two-way interaction? Okay, that's also a very good point. So do I want creator to talk to me, or I also would like to talk to creator? Yeah.
In the text also, there's another direction, maybe the main focus, which is at the very beginning when he says he knocked the door of the unseen through his heart and the intellect. So everything he experienced in this life were pointing to something behind them, like beyond them. And he looked at is unseen, what is beyond everything we experience. And he saw a creator. He understood that there is a creator behind everything. And then the following occurred to him. It is to be clearly understood that behind the veil of the unseen is one who wants to make himself known through all these numerous finely adorned artifacts full of art and so on and so forth. So, so the reason I said another direction, so we are approaching from one direction, which is I'm looking at myself and I say the creator is talking to me through, let's say, the things I see, through things that I feel, I smell, whatever. Why not my intellect? Why not the language ability? So this is one argument. Strong, weak, I don't know. We can discuss. But then it may lead to questions like Abdurrahman asked. There is also another direction, maybe the opposite direction, is maybe the author is talking here, is when I look at the things, I see that they are all created by someone. And when I try to understand these things that he creates, it becomes obvious to me that he wants to make himself known. So then the question is, when I just look at the things that he creates, like his actions make him known to me, right? Through his actions, through his artwork and so on. I can say that, okay, through his actions and the artwork, I understand him and he makes himself known. But I can ask, is there any further? Like, can I understand him better in different ways? So when I ask the question this way, and then I say, yeah, the artwork is great, but how about his speech? It's not how about my language. It is how about his speech that, you know, corresponds to what I name as the language. Because if you take it from our perspective, I say, but how about Turkish? Or how about, you know, a language that the Birkan in this age understand? No, this is not the point. The point of how about his speech? I mean, to me, this is different. Because then it doesn't matter whether his speech is in Arabic or the Russian or whatever. It just is something that is, as he will explain, that is divine speech being reduced to a human language. And at least to me, when I look from this perspective, I say, okay, then there's his speech as well. And it satisfies me. If it is Arabic, I say, okay, I will learn Arabic, doesn't matter. But the argument is not that, okay, he must speak in a way that I, Birkan, will understand in his mother tongue as well. That's not the argument anyway.
That also applies that you learn the language over time anyways. Like if we take it in the granularity that Abdurrahman is asking, then we will say, I learned language better at my age 30 because now I'm getting deeper into, I don't know, the fineness of the language itself. So that granularity could be extended anywhere. Like even if it was in your mother tongue, even if you were Arab, you would say that, oh, why it's not in a way that I could have understood it when I was 7, but rather I needed to study balagha, which can even further be extended. So there's no end to that, because that way of questioning is taking it to the extreme, saying that I would just like to lay down and the message comes to me.
Exactly. That's the reason I said like a Birkan in this age.
Yeah.
Like a Birkan who is 43 years old should understand. How about Ali? Oh yeah, the language should be in a way that a 2 years old boy would understand. If we take it from that direction. But let me give an example. We see an artwork, the painting, right? I look at the painting, I say that, okay, this is not like just ordinary painting. The artist is trying to explain something to me. I say, I look at the artwork. The artist has a philosophy or whatever, and he's trying to reflect it through his art, I say. And then naturally, I ask the question, yeah, but that's great, but why didn't he write a book to explain his artwork? Wouldn't it be more efficient, I say, or complementary? And somebody brings me, oh, actually he did. If the book is in French, because the artist was, the French artist, I wouldn't say, oh, but that it doesn't count because it's French. I was expecting in English. I wouldn't say that. Because my expectation is not about the language. It's about the way he explains, he makes himself known. And then I say, but what about, that's okay, the book is great, but if he is a wise artist, he would also attend to TV shows and so on and so forth and explain himself through, let's say, speech as well. And then somebody says, oh, actually, there are some YouTube videos. The guy explaining his artwork. This expectation is fully satisfied now. Even the YouTube video is in, I don't know, the Russian. Doesn't matter. That's not the point. Sorry, Khan.
So the approach you're taking, like making himself known, when I was even reading this, so it doesn't like sit right with me. Is like it feels like a top-down approach. Is like the creator wants himself to be known. Like, is this creation so that he can be known, or like is this creation for me to benefit from it so that I can learn about my creator? So this is the problem that I was running into when I was reading about this approach. Is like, does the creator want, like, why is there a reason, or why is there a need for the creator for himself to like make known? Because from my understanding, all of the creation is so that I can understand the creator better. He already exists, so he is already there. So this is the dilemma that I ran into.
So I'm thinking about the speech that's clear with between my creator and myself as creation. I wonder to myself, what is it that, how does meaning come to me? How does comprehension come to me? You know, you have emotions that are provoked by your experience with the creation around you. So whether it's positive or negative, whether it's however you describe it, happiness, sadness, depression, very excitement, whatever you name it, whatever experience you have and the emotion that it evokes within you, that's a form of communication I feel with my creator. So now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking from this perspective. I'm also thinking from the perspective of within me. When I go through life, I get ideas that let's say that there's an idea of, I call it an idea, inspiration about things that, you know, things that I need to do or things that come to my mind. You know, examples will come to me where I claim it for myself. I said, I'm such a smart guy that I had this idea that I'm going to do this. But then when I think to myself, was this me or is this an inspiration from the one who created me and provided me with this idea, this thought? So this could be this I believe is a form of communication with my creator. That's number two. So just a few things to share.
Okay.
I think to your question and to sort of Abdurrahman's questions, it's like, yes, I see all this creation around me. Yes, it's sort of like if I really look into it, it may signify to me, oh, you know, there's no God but He. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really provide me any avenue to talk to my creator, right? I'm given that this creator is like there. It's so powerful. It's so mighty. It can do anything, but like I still don't have any means of contacting him, right? And for me, like divine speech, revelation is sort of a means of being able to access him. I mean, sometimes yes, like it's hard to access him, you know, because of the language barriers or something like that. But the avenue is still there, and like for me as a believer, like I need to seize that opportunity. I need to seize that chance to like push myself through it, and then maybe I will get the answers or even more insight into things that I want to understand. So.
Yeah, so the way the author structured it was, he initially said that I do, like, based on how the creator has been manifesting himself. I'll just continue with my previous example. I have seen that I was being presented with gifts. Like, imagine you are going in your dorm room, one day you find a rose. Oh, you got excited. You have a secret admirer. This is what it means, right? You find a rose in your dorm room. Second day, another rose. Third day, you find some sort of a well-packed candy. You get the sense that somebody is willing to be known by you. Somebody is loving you and willing to be loved by you. This is why this person is introducing this rose and then some nicely packed candy, just as a human being. Is this what you would think? Fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, what would you say? Okay, yes, I think I'm now also starting to get interested in you. But like as a human being, I think you would talk back to me. If this was a human-human relationship, this is how we would say, because I am human, I wait you to talk to me. I'm waiting that you talk to me. But now the case is a little bit different in this example, because who is putting the rose in my dorm room? I know that now that after we come to, I guess, 12th or 13th stage, my maker is leaving this room, this rose in there. And by this act, I come to conclusion, going back to Kadir's question, that he wants to be known. He wants to attract my attention. This is why he's putting this rose in my room, metaphorically speaking. Like every moment you breathe air, every day sun is rising and you enjoy sunrise. It's a gift. It's an intentional gift there. It's not like sunrise happened to be there and you happen to enjoy it by chance. No, it's a deliberate gift, just like a rose put in your dormitory room. So this being the case, what do I say? Since it looks like he wants to be known, and this is why he's trying to attract my attention by these, if you like, sign language, then speech is a better communication way for human. This is how he said it to me. Like when I'm talking to you since the beginning, yes, I am using body language, but I'm also using words, because for human, he sets words as a way to more actively communicate. So yes, now I do expect him to talk to me actually, because this is how he set me. He made me like this in a way that I can understand with language better. So I do expect him to talk to me, to tell more about him to me in this human language, because I am made as such by him. If we are at this level, now I'm ready to receive a conversation. Then I will come to Abdurrahman's question. Metaphorically speaking, this looks like what? Again, this is just an example, so it's not a perfect example. A student, a human being, realizes that he needs to learn coding, let's say. But he realizes that he cannot do this by himself. So he realizes the need for a teacher. Therefore, he enrolls into a school, like to a university. Okay? But that student, that human being is as spoiled as Abdurrahman. Okay? So he enrolls to Penn and says, teach me, this is why I'm paying you money. Okay? And the teacher says, okay, here's the slides. He comes and gives the lecture and then puts the assignment. Abdurrahman says, oh, you have to do the assignment to me as well. Why are you asking me? That's why I'm paying you. You have to give me the answers as well. What would the teacher say? What are you? You don't, okay, you're good. I appreciate you that you realized your need to learn, but this is not how you learn. Because you don't know what it means to be a student properly, apparently. Let me teach you how to be a student as well. He says, I will just ask you, and you will put the efforts to learn. This is how you learn. So by putting those obstacles, if you like, he's encouraging you to take step to learn. This is how education is happening, right? Because with the same line of thought that Abdurrahman was putting all those questions, we can also say that, well, why was I sick last year? I didn't need to be sick. Like God wants to be known, right? Just, give me a prosperous, nice life by the sea, and I have this, I don't know, some Porsche and my personal jet and this and that. Well, why obstacles in life? I would like to love you, God, and you can make me love you by giving me a lot of goods. And if he gives a lot of goods, you would say, well, I want more goods. So it looks like then the part becomes, as the author is also doing, once he had this initial enrollment, then he looked at this realm and see what is up there. Like, it's not like he's trying to construct it ground up all the way, saying that this is how it should be and doing engineering. He said that, yes, I am in need of speech. Then he knocked the door and see how the speech comes, and then now analyzing what the speech is like. Because it looks like I am falling short in engineering intentions of God or things like that. Like, I cannot be an engineer for the universe itself. Like, if you were to be designing curriculum, the moment you stepped it at Penn as a freshman, then you say, oh, actually, you know what? We should get a course about computer games and a few courses here and there about machine learning and deep learning, large language models. You're a freshman. Where did you get this idea? Oh, I heard in Twitter, large language model is a good thing. But that's not how you design an education. You don't know what it means to be a proper structured education. So it feels to me that those details, I need to put a little bit of effort to get there, which takes a lifetime. If I don't want to take a lifetime to get there, the author is saying that, okay, now that I understood revelation must be there, let me see what revelation is offering. So there's this back and forth conversation. That's why author is not doing pure philosophy here. He's using his intellect, but he is benefiting from revelation. Now saying, okay, I wanted to talk to your creator. And once he has this expectation, once he receives this revelation, then he says, okay, let me see what it is. And let's revelation to teach him what to expect, is what I am saying. Otherwise, the way you put all those questions, to me, it feels like, I mean, yes, these are genuine human expectations. My students also do that. But generally, I push back when they say, oh, why did you take off this point? I say, because you made it wrong. I mean, unfortunately, in America, students have this attitude saying that I pay your salary, professor, so you better give this 5 points back to me. But this is not a student, it's just a customer in this case. So I need to make sure me being a human being in this existence, what does teaching, education mean like? So is what you were asking, are they going against this education aspect?
Just to give his due, the true guy, you treated him very badly. So like he might be as like one individual, this person might be spoiled, yeah, but not Qadir, for instance, okay? Or I mean, look at Fran, he's not spoiled for sure, and he may not be knowing Arabic either. Or my mom, she doesn't know Arabic, and there's no way that she will learn Arabic, from my perspective at least. And she may still ask this question. Like, I think, like if we tell her, like she wouldn't ask this question by herself. But if somebody says, oh, if you want to believe in revelation, you have to go through this specific argument, which is, oh, God is talking to you through your senses, then he must talk to you through your language as well, right? When you put it this way, I guess, it's very natural to say that he's not talking to me in my language. So I think maybe we also be clearer about that, what we mean with the language there, what we mean with the speech there. Otherwise, my mom would ask the same question, and then she would say, oh, maybe God doesn't love me. He's only talking to this person or that person. He loves you and he taught you Arabic, but not me, and so on and so forth. Like it may even take her away from the creator as like, I'm just speculating. But what I'm saying is just saying that this is a spoiled behavior wouldn't solve the problem. I guess the problem, if there's a problem, it's again, it's about how we approach it. It's about, yeah, he must be talk to me as well, attitude maybe, or the argument maybe a little bit off balance. I don't know, I tried a few minutes ago. So that's all I can think.
Then let's give it to Abdurrahman.
Yeah.
And let's see what the spoiled child says.
Why do you expect anything from the spoiled child?
I don't know, we have beaten you up enough.
I mean, I'm thinking about so this is the 14th degree, And yeah, the way Nursi approaches in the beginning, he's like someone who shows that he loves you through, I don't know, all the things in creation. He cares for you through all these things he's creating and whatnot. And then he says must be a speech or something. But I'm also like thinking why, like speech is something so integral. Yeah, like the second I'm born, I'm like, why did this happen? Why is this happening to me? What's the purpose of this? Like, I'm asking this to someone. Like, I'm expecting answers there. And the best answer, of course, would be like a human speech, because that's the clearest. Like, that's why it's like, oh, if I exist in the prophet's time, I go ask him, I get the clear answer, it's done. I would, that's why like you have that kind of, oh, if only I existed at that time, I could do that. But so now I'm thinking about how Nursi like put these stages, like this is the 14th stage. Like, so up until this point, should we not have interacted with revelation? Like, we went through all the creation, we went through even like prophets, like what prophets and saints and scholars and all these things, and even angels. And now it's talking about God's speech. Is this all he's saying that also revelation in my life needs to be like this 14th degree, like after I go through these steps, or that's only when it really makes sense to me, and that's only when I can interact with it? So before, when I asked this question, like, why do I exist? What's the purpose of this all? Then how should I be expecting a response earlier on? Like, these are just the other questions. Because maybe I'm thinking, yes, if you go all these 14 stages truly and you understand it, then yeah, it makes sense that, okay, now there should be a speech that I interact with, whether it's Arabic or some other language. And then I could look at the obstacle there as, oh, okay, just like how every day I need to, go to sleep and wake up and go to work or something. In the same way, this obstacle of learning this language is there for me too. And there's a purpose there. I could maybe have such reasoning.
I love all these points. Why can't it all be simultaneous? Why can't speech be at all levels, all degrees, and all the other degrees? I'm just speaking out loud. I'm just putting it out there.
That'd be ideal, yeah.
So the way author started in the first stage, he said, in the first stage, he said, since this is the most obvious, he started with the first stage, like with the heavens. That's the first thing that catches your attention. Yeah, so this is why he started with the existence. But of course, when he was taking this journey, he started even before that, he started with a verse. Like Revelation was even there before. But he is now speaking to someone in this day and age, if you like, for whom revelation, like we are living in a world in which I guess pretty much anybody in this room went through 18 years of materialist education. Like, forget about revelation. There's not even a God for people in this day and age. So starting conversation from, oh, here is Quran, speech of God. Which God is the immediate question? So the author is taking this journey so to make me get ready for this, like now speaking to Creator, because revelation, Kadir also mentioned this, but in the text he takes revelation, author is describing revelation as a mutual conversation between you and your Creator. Like, we are not ready to that right away. This is why author is speaking to someone in this age, I think, in these stages. Otherwise, yeah, sure. I mean, you have been attending those discussions for years, so I don't expect you to, for the first time today, start to get engaged with the revelation, sure. But how would you talk to someone in a way that talking with God, is it going to sound weird or crazy? Or right away they would say that, well, of course not. I think so that is there in this sense. Any other comments, questions? People will, like, this part of the room starting to sleep, so let's not put them to sleep. Okay. After this intro, author then said, with the eye of his intellect, he entered to the realm of unseen. And he said, the truth of revelation prevails at all instants over all parts of the world of the unseen. It says everywhere is filled up with speech of God. Let me translate what he is saying. everywhere is filled up with speech of God. This is what I understand from that. With the most powerful manifestation. There comes with the truths of revelation and inspiration proceeding from the one all-knowing of the unseen. So he is saying that the speech is not only a revelation, but also inspiration. So Haidar pointed to that. We didn't read this part yet. There's going to be a different type of speech of God, which speaks to Abdurrahman in the way that Abdurrahman understands as well. Inspiration, it will come to. But he made a distinction. He says there's revelation and then there's inspiration. So there's wahi and then there's ilham. So the first part that which is now we are studying, when it comes to revelation, so a testimony to his existence and unity far stronger than testimony of the universe and created beings. He does not leave himself, his existence and his unity, only to the testimony of his creatures. Rather, he speaks with a pre-eternal speech consonant with his own being. The speech of the one who is all present and all seeing everywhere with his knowledge and power is also endless. And just as the meaning of his speech makes him known, so does his discourse make himself known together with his attributes. What does this mean? His speech is endless. What do you understand from that? Is Quran an endless book? How many pages it is? 600 or so pages. What does it mean that speech of God is endless? Any idea? Okay.
So I'm kind of thinking about how, in terms of, just going back to the question of how I expect my creator to speak to me. Do I expect my creator to speak to me? It seems to come back to this idea of need. Like, do I find myself in a state of need where I am in need of an answer, and this answer taking form or taking place in the form of speech, and the speech taking specifically form or taking place in the form of human language as well. And, one point that we discussed was also kind of, I expect my creator to speak to me in a clear manner, as well as kind of like in all sorts of communication, including, I think, human speech being one of the most, if not the most clear kind of cut way, but in all sort of like in all human senses, right? Even my emotions, for example, my feelings, my thoughts, my experiences. And I guess in the previous discussions too, as was highlighted before, like the multiple, like looking at the creation, looking at the universe, looking at the I don't know, the oceans or the clouds or the forests, and other like multiple layers of different parts of creation. So I guess when it comes to like how many forms or of speech do I expect, or it kind of goes back to like how to what extent am I in need, and to what extent am I aware of the fact that I'm in need. And so if my questions can kind of be satisfied in one instance, then I only need to be spoken to once, if you will, right? But if that question is recurring, or that the need, the answer kind of looks to a constant kind of reconfirmation, or unending kind of like an unending sort of an answer for me, like for example, I want unending happiness, right? Then I think then the degree to which I expect an answer should also match that as well. There should be some sort of equivalency or correlation between the desire, the need that I'm kind of seeing within myself, as well as, on the one hand, the forms of speech, as well as the degrees of the speech as well. Like I need it to be constant in kind of every form. I don't know if that wasn't necessarily meant to answer the question either, but
Is that not finished? Yes.
I was also gonna say that I was thinking of this a little while ago, that if Quran was so specific, like we would want it to be, we would lose probably on the beauty of Quran, that every time you open it, it speaks to you in different ways. Like I believe the Quran answers every question you have, or you can find the answer to any question in the Quran once you open it. And so when I think of like his speech being endless or the Quran being endless, it's like just that, right? Like there's so many different interpretations and so many different ways to answer all of your questions. I think that's one of the beauties of the book.
Yep.
You asked something to the effect of is the speech of the creator constant? Something to endless, is it endless? And how is it endless? For me, by virtue of our existence continuing from moment to moment, his speech is endless. And it continues. And if our existence were to end, all of us collectively, then we would not know about his speech, but maybe his speech still continues.
Okay. Like his existence is his speech. So we talked about that, right? So the whole existence is his speech. And to the extent that the existence is, I don't know, however much I can quantify. So it looks like in this sense, yes, his speech is endless. Because acts of gesture, we also consider it part of the message that's being delivered, right? Like this is what makes those master, I don't know, artists in movies. They not only speak words, but their face and body posture is telling a lot of message. But the whole creation, in this sense, is a speech of God, is a message. So this granted. But how about the speech as in scripture? We will get to inspiration as well. So let's keep that on the side. But how about speech of God? Do you expect speech of God to be endless? Because what Natalia said is she's saying that when I open Quran, so each and every time I find a new answer to myself, my questions. But do you expect it to be so?
If this is a speech that speaks to me and speaks to any creation that engages with it, then I would expect that.
I think like it's necessary that it's endless, because like God created this world and more people are gonna be born in the next 100,000 years. And we have computers now, and there's no real mention of computers and phones and TikTok in the Quran. Yet, like everything in the Quran is still applicable because it's endless, right? Like if it was only applicable to the time of the Prophet, like when Revelation was being done, none of it would be applicable to today, or a majority, or a little bit, or whatever, right? Like I think all of it is applicable today, and it should remain applicable to the end of times. So it must be endless.
What do you think, folks? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm also thinking along the same lines that given all the other divine qualities, there has to be something distinct about divine speech too. Like human speech in itself is limited. So if it's divine speech, if it's the speech of the creator, it has like that, I guess, distinct endlessness where it can be absolutely applicable everywhere and in every sense, which you cannot say about human speech.
Does this make sense, folks? What do you think? This is a very huge statement, actually. So I'm not sure if we are on the same page with this statement. Like Quran being endless. Because at the end of the day, it's a book that you can take in between two fingers of yours. So it's a limited material thing if you would like to treat it as a material thing. But now the author is saying that the creator's speech must be endless. It's a logical conclusion that he is arriving to. Like, otherwise, one could come and say that, well, you're just over interpreting it. You're just like starting to make it up. Come on. Like, it is just somebody's words 14 centuries ago. As Natalie was highlighting, if it was somebody's words from 14 centuries ago, would you try to extract any meaning which applies to today? Like, no matter how smart, how wise, how sharp-eyed a person is, would they be able to guess about TikTok or anything of that sort? They would say, well, how? Like, you don't know what you're talking about. This is a word that we commonly say to grandparents or even sometimes parents. Oh, mom, like, it was valid at your time, not today. Like, the world has changed so much, we tend to say. So their words means only as much to us. Now we are talking about a limited number of words in terms of words, but we are saying that these words are endless. This means quite a bit, actually. This means I am expecting this speech to have endless meanings because it's speech of God. If the same word, same structure, same sentences was Muhammad, a man called Muhammad's words, I wouldn't give it a second thought and say that, well, I wouldn't seek wisdom, that much wisdom in it. It would be really nonsense to seek such wisdom because that person wouldn't know. How could that person know? That would have been my making up. I wouldn't be trying to communicate with the guy from 14 centuries ago. It would be, okay, he said something, but now I am thinking and I am finding my own answers. It would have been if it was speech of man. Isn't it? What do you think? And that description is so critical, I think, as to how to approach revelation. This is why I would like to not go lightly with this statement, Quran being endless.
I just have a question on that. Like, wouldn't you say that we're still able to find guidance through a hadith, though?
We do, but we are not trying to find infinitely many meanings in hadith, for example. We don't try to do that. Because we know that whatever Prophet said is coming from a limited human perspective. Like, he is best among humanity, but still as a human being. Like, would you say that, you know, what Prophet was aware of, I don't know, TikTok, since the example TikTok came? Like, you would say he lived within his conditions, within his lifetime, but he was the best ever student of the Creator, if you would like to take it as such. I can benefit from his wisdom, but I wouldn't treat hadith the same way I would treat Quran, because the speaker is not all-knowing. The author's emphasis here is the speech of the one who is all-present and all-seeing everywhere with his knowledge and power is also endless. This is his reasoning. He's saying that since the one who speaks is all-knowing, all-wise, all-seeing everywhere with his knowledge and power, therefore his speech must be endless. The one who speaks here is the one who is creating the ideas that's passing from your head right now. So that is like, because we give value to people's words depending on who they are. Like, if Brother Bir can just mumble some words and you just see him in those clothes in the subway, you would just say that, well, like a homeless is just mumbling something. Okay.
Dirty.
Okay. But if I said, like, let's assume he is just talking about autism is like this, autism is like that in the subway with these clothes. Okay. And you say, oh, another autism, what's it? Conspiracists. Okay. This is what you would say. Those people, they always talk, they know nothing about whatever. And I say, you know what? He is working in autism center in CHOP. then you will say, oh, let me listen it for a second time. Everything changes now, because then you say, oh, this speech is coming from a meaningful place. Word is the same, but your attitude towards the speech has changed because your expectation from a professor working in the Research Center for Autism is different. Than word is the same, but your expectation from the word rightfully changes. Now, speech of God, even if it was the same word, like kullu shay'in halikun illa wajha, if this was word of a man called Muhammad, at best, you would say that, if you don't consider him as a prophet, you would say that like an Arab poet sounds good. And probably this is what that person meant by that. But if I say, this is speech of your creator, the one who is right now creating you and annihilating you, because every moment you are being brought into existence, this is the speech of the one who is acting right there, then things must have changed for you. So speech endlessness is a rightful expectation. But this rightfulness part is what I would like to highlight. Do you expect that much depth? Rightfully, it is there, but do I expect it? If I do so, then the way I take Quran is going to be way different than, I'm not going to take it as a speech of a homeless, or speech of a poet, or speech of a magician. Like, these are the things that were said to Prophet. Quran is negating them, saying that you don't know what you're talking about. But unfortunately, sometimes we might be treating Quran as speech of a man, or sometimes like a historical text, or like poetry, or like encyclopedia, or sometimes like a science book, or you know what, it's just this miracle of nobody mentioned this, and the size of the earth is this, you know, if you sum up those numbers, it's going to give you the circumference of the earth, and Quran points to this and that. What is my expectation from Quran? So author is, in a sense, establishing that. Yes. I can send the microphone all the way there.
Wait, give me a second. I'm trying to remember. Well, if I approach the Quran with this expectation that it's endless and I can communicate to my creator through this Quran, no matter what kind of situation I'm in, or what kind of whatever confirmation I'm seeking of my understanding or experience or whatnot, but I'm met with this barrier of language, for example, then even if I go with that expectation, is it being fulfilled? How can I continue to go with this expectation? And I think that's kind of similar to what Abdulrahman's question, right? I don't think it's a weird question.
No. So the part that I would like to say it's weird is, like, I was applying it to my student's case. Like, the student says, I mean, it's not the perfect example, but the student says, I pay you tuition, so you have to respond to my messages also on Saturdays and Sundays. And we said that no, like, a proper studenthood means this. And who defines proper studenthood? We define it. And students, but based on what? How human is. So when it comes to existence, for example, I desire to fly. Honestly, I love flying. Sometimes in my dream, I fly. But in this existence, do I fly? I have to make a plane. But I don't say, oh God, like, you gave the desire to me to fly, but I cannot. Like, how dare you? I don't say that, right? So yes, desire is put there, but the order is also put there. Problem is put there, yes. Questions are put there. I am in need of my creator talking to me, but I do not impose my rules on how, God, you should talk to me in this way. So, and now again, we are talking about Quran. When it comes to inspiration, which we will study inshallah next week, the creator also talks to you with inspiration in a language that you can understand, not only Arabic. Inspiration is a type of language which the creator talks to everybody in their language as well. Author will study that. But before coming to this, we are now talking about this specific message Quran, which is spoken to, like in a way, if I'm going to with my analogy, I give lecture to students in the classroom in a more authoritative way. But when they come to my office hours, practically speaking, I start conversation by how's life going to the student. And I try to make it more casual so that the student is going to be more comfortable, so that they are not scared and this and that. But when I go back to class, again, I'm more authoritative with the same students, because the two are different types of conversation, different types of speech. Student needs both. Yeah.
So when I approach the Quran with this expectation and I still find it difficult, is it because I'm not on par with my learning? It could be like, for example, with the analogy with the professor, you're going to class where the professor has this maybe more authoritative way of teaching, but I'm not understanding any of it. Then I would still, only the professor can teach me how to learn in that setting, right?
Mhm.
So it seems like in this case, because we are not, you're saying revelation is the way to communicate, but then I'm met with this barrier, language barrier, or even even if I know the language, if I don't have confirmation in a language that is more clear that I am on the right track,
Yeah.
then what do I rely on to?
Very good. So this is where we will also need human teacher who is going to teach me how to understand Quran as well. This is where the Prophet will come into the picture. So far, what have we been doing? We have been going through the existence, the creation, the universe, which were telling us. Now, we are saying that the same speech, but in human language, is going to come to me. So whatever comes from Quran is going to be confirmed by my experiences and the universe, the existence that I'm living in. But then there will come a point, as you rightfully said, but how am I going to understand this in a sense? Because there comes a point that you would like to, you're having a hard time. Then will come messenger saying that here is how I'm going to teach it to you. This is why we went through other stages where awliya, like the saints and the scholars and whatnot came in there. So these are, yes, rightfully asking, but they're all part of my experience. So in this sense, yes, there are going to be such teachers to me as well. But once you get there, still, is Quran going to be a conversation between you and your creator? Like, do you expect it to be so? Yeah, to me, the answer should be like this. Yes, I do see the potential in there. And to a certain extent, yes, I do have this conversation back and forth with my creator in the speech. But then I go and discuss it with Brother Birkan. And then another door opens to me. I come back to Quran. Then I see more of conversation with my creator. But Brother Birkan opened the door to me in this case. I was not aware of it. Maybe he taught me language, maybe with an action in his life. He just demonstrated sincerity to me. Maybe I was arrogantly approaching it and whatnot. Then I observed a pattern and attitude in him. Then I got a lesson from this. I go back to Quran, and then the same text, I understand more, new meanings. This is why throughout our life, it's a single book. If I were to tell you that I read Lord of the Rings 2 times, you would say, okay, like this guy likes it. But if I said it 10 times, what would you say? Like, it's Lord of the Rings. Like, are you crazy? Like, what else are you expecting in this story? But how many times people read or reread Quran in their lives? Why do we do that? Like, is it just to stack up good deeds? Or the idea is that each and every time you read the same speech, it's going to mean something new to you because it's an endless speech. This is the expectation, or at least it is the already within the tradition, it is there. Maybe we are aware, maybe we are not aware. But reading and rereading, I mean, even if you're not reading Quran every day in your life, in your house, but you read and reread Fatiha in your prayer every time, what is the point? Like, you read it once, man, you got the point. Well, okay, 5 times, 10 times. Like you read how many times every day Fatiha? What's the point? This actually is coming from the idea that it's an endless speech. And as you understand and get a little better in understanding, you will understand anew. And then going back to your question, Prophet is there like a teaching assistant put there to make you come over those obstacles. Scholars are going to be there. People in your own language explaining what Quran is there to you will help you. Then you will get excited and say that, oh, I would like to learn this language itself and dive deeper into it. These are all things that are going to be there for you. But in this room, everybody was given, in this room, pretty much everybody, I think, could have done master's, PhD, and whatnot, including our spoiled child. But the spoiled child just did an undergrad and said, that's it. I'm not going to go more. Again, he is more skilled than I am. He could have done it, but he chose not to. So in this life, we are given those options, even when it comes to being an addressee of Quran, we are given many options, but we choose to stop somewhere. It is then our choice. Like potentially, we could have been a very good student of the messenger and the scholars and Quran and this and that. The Creator is creating all those opportunities to me, but also giving me the opportunity to not choose them. This is why we cannot say that I don't want to get through this, like my student does. I don't want to do programming assignment 5, but yet I want to learn the content of it. This is what I mean by being spoiled. Like if you're a student, this is how you learn. It is set, if you like, for human being as such. Otherwise, I mean, I appreciate the question that Abdurrahman asked, but that was a good question. But when my student takes this attitude, I get a little saying that, okay, like I have to slow down my student because the student is not aware of what's going on. So we are at 8:46. So we started 2-3 minutes late. Any comments that you would like to make? There were 5 nice points which we couldn't study. Shall I reread them for you to think about for next week?
We should study them next week.
We should study them next week. Yeah, very important 5 points. Because now in the next 5 points, author is going to describe what is being shown in Quran, what is Quran. And based on what Quran is, we will listen to Quran. If this guy is homeless, I would take what he says about autism as just conspiracy. If I take him as an expert of autism, then I will listen him, and homeless. Then I will listen to him accordingly. What is Quran for you drastically changes what you understand from Quran. This is why this text is important. And inshallah, let's continue from there next week.
Can I say so?
Go ahead.
The way author takes in the text, it's really reminded me this the art analogy, or maybe the movies, directors, and so on. Like he's talking about artwork being there, and the person realizes that this artwork is not just any kind of artwork. It's speaking of his maker, right? So the director created this movie, but obviously he's trying to tell me something. And I got the message from the movie to some extent, but then I say, oh, there must be a commentary of it as well. You know, there are these movies, and sometimes when they're encrypted and so on, there's not Matrix, it's for children. So there are also the commentaries of these movies by the director. Like sometimes you watch the movie and the audio channel is not the voice of the characters, but the director's commentary. So you say there must be a commentary of this movie as well, by the director, right? So this is an expectation about a concept that there must be a commentary. That this is my expectation now, right? So how director gives this commentary, makes this commentary, it's his choice. Like if he knows me, if he knows his audience, he would say, okay, I will give it this way so that it will be better received, right? But my expectation is there must be a commentary. And interestingly, this is one of the first things, I guess, when Imam Nursi describes revelation, he says it's an interpretation, a commentary of the creation for revelation. That's his description. So there must be a commentary then, right? I say. And just like I study the movie, in our case, the universe, like you are studying the universe, for instance, right? The physics. And what you are doing, you're really studying it. You're trying to understand it. You're not just saying that, just like this is my understanding of the physics, is that there's an object, there's another object. If you push one, it will move and hit the other one. That's at most I can say. But for you, you take it more serious and you say that, no, I should study this artwork, movie, in more depth. You take serious. The same way, you say, okay, there must be a commentary. And then you find that there is a commentary. Interesting, the author doesn't mention Quran here. It says just the revelation, right? So there must be a commentary, you say. That's all. And you try to find this commentary. And when you find it, you say, okay, I should study it as well. And just like you study physics, you study the artwork, you watch the movie, and listen to commentary. And in practice, it means if somebody brings you a revelation, you say, okay, let me study it. So if there's a barrier between you and this commentary, then your human expectations will come and say, okay, there must be other resources as well to make me more familiar with this commentary. All these human expectations there must be some other resources as well. You're not saying that there must be these resources, but some other resources that are tailored to me, tailored for me as well. This is your expectation. And this expectation is also satisfied. And then comes a guy who knows the director, who works with the director, and tells you that, oh, he meant this with this, whatever. And then you say, but there must be other type of resources as well. And then they are there too. Like in our case, we have this revelation, we have this creation, we have the revelation, we have the prophets, we have the hadiths, we have scholars, we have people who read scholars and then share with you, and so on and so forth. All your expectations are actually satisfied. The only thing that is needed here is just like being honest to yourself and say that, what do I expect? That's all. Is your goal to understand the movie or not? Is your goal to understand this artwork and beyond that understand the intentions of the director or not? If this is the case, you say there must be resources and you find these resources. If they are not enough, you say there must be some other resources, and you see there are other resources as well. So there is no question mark actually, like there's no question then, no expectation that is not satisfied. For everybody, even for Ali, for instance, Ali needs guidance and some resources. Ali, the young boy, his son, 2 years old Ali, he has his expectations. He says, well, the life doesn't make sense. It's not, just and so on. And then for him, there are resources. He can speak the language that he can understand. So obviously, the creator of Ali didn't leave him alone as well. He sent some other resources for him. So whatever expectation you have as a human being, it is satisfied so that you can understand. There is no barrier. Never there's a barrier. Like if you say there's a language barrier, okay, there are some other resources to overcome this language barrier. You say, oh, but I cannot learn. Okay, there are other resources. Just people like you. There are some pictures. Right? If you are blind, okay, there are some other resources. There is never ever barrier when it comes to understanding the creator and his intentions. There are always resources.
جزاكم الله خيرا. So let's conclude here. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم من الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.